Welcome to Storytime with Lenz. It's me, Lenz, and I'm a writer. There are worse things in the world than being the bringer of death, and Jerry the Merman assassin knew this better than anyone. Unfortunately, this is a true story. You see, Jerry the Merman assassin and I were very good friends, and he once told me, through a lot of coaxing, I didn't know he was a merman at first. It was this really, really strange thing when, he had the legs, they can do that. They can turn into regular people. That's how they drag people to their deaths. He didn't drag me to my death. I'm not really his type, and I don't want to seem speciesist, but mermen are not my thing. So anyway, see, Jerry, a friend of mine, he worked for the CIA, and his job was to assassinate Soviet spies during the Cold War in their secret underwater bunkers. And apparently, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to be sprouting out on the internet, dozens of secret Soviet mer people bases. And apparently during the Cold War, the mermaids took sides. They were communist mermaids and they were staunchly capitalist mermaids, and it was just as detrimental, if not more, because it was less of a Cold War under the water. It was a very hot war with water bombs and underground volcanoes. It was a mess. I don't know the whole story. I know Jerry's going to be coming out with a book on it a little later. But anyway, so I'm sitting down having a chat with my friend Jerry, and he's telling me all these stories. And the most interesting to me is about this mermaid Svetlana, who was apparently the most beautiful mermaid in the ocean, I guess. I would say in the world, because I'm sure there's very little mermaids on land. I don't know. Some of them are in secret. I know there was a relocation program. I'm not going to get into that because I've already said too much. But anyway, so Jerry, the merman assassin, I apologize, he was talking about Svetlana, and when guys have that look in their face when they're talking about the one, how guys get that look on their face when they're talking about the ones they love, their lips curl up and get that little shy, coy thing. It's absolutely adorable. And I will tell you, Jerry had this look. So he's talking about his secret love, Svetlana. She was a Soviet mermaid spy off the coast of Alaska at the time. And how one day, they're on a cruise, or they're in their people disguises because there was a secret nuclear diamond being smuggled in by a Cuban mercenary named El Bad Guy. And now El Bad Guy was really not about any sort of political ideology. He was more of an old school supervillain. He just wanted to, steal the world's supply of oxygen, capture the moon, blow up the sun. He was just your very typical supervillain. Little backstory on El Bad Guy. El Bad Guy is Cuban national, born in Cuba. He is not a merman, but I think he may be part Yeti. This is disputed, and on most skills, people are a little hush-hush about it, but whatever. El Bad Guy. What can I say about El Bad Guy? He's a pretty bad guy, no political ideology can hold him. He's just, classic old school, and I have to respect him for that. More than anything, I have to respect the fact that this guy goes for it. He's just, I don't care. I'm gonna blow up the sun. I'm gonna steal your supply of oxygen and leave you with none. You know what? He nets for dolphins. He does not like dolphins at all. I think he's solely responsible for, mass dolphin extinction. Yes. I don't think he particularly has love, El Bad Guy. I think El Bad Guy is one of those people that just really needs a hug. You know, somebody sit him down and say, El Bad Guy, you matter. I care about you more than anything. And possibly, you know, a good 15 to 25 years in the federal penitentiary. I think that would, you know, straighten him out a little bit, you know, give him some perspective, you know, because, you know, as much as he had a rough childhood being partially Yeti, doing that whole Cuba thing, 1950s, being a supervillain, you know, I feel for him, but, you know, there's only so many times you can try to destroy the world without having some sort of consequences. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is. So, that's when Jerry and Svetlana found themselves on the same boat. When they're spying in a Cold War, not a lot of communications going on. A lot of signals get crossed. So both spies are on the same boat right next to each other. So it can kind of get a little awkward, especially when the bitch next door you've tried to kill several times, and vice versa. So they're on the boat, trying to make the best of it, trying to work together, because, you know, it can be very, very difficult to be a mer person on two legs, on a boat, during the Cold War, when people were maybe as open-minded to mer people, while also fighting for your countries that happen to be fighting against each other to stop a madman from taking over the world with a nuclear diamond. I wouldn't know what that feels like. So El Bad Guy was somewhere on the ship. They didn't know. He could have been anywhere. Most likely with a nuclear diamond, he was in first class, and actually he was in first class. He wasn't in steerage. Again, El Bad Guy was a man of luxury. He liked to, you know, show off a little bit. I think he had a Maserati. Were Maseratis around in the 50s? I don't know. Possibly. Were they a thing back then? I wasn't alive. I don't think Jerry really knows a lot about cars. He knows a lot about boats, but not a lot about cars. And horses, by the way, which seems pretty... I mean, there are seahorses, but I don't think you can ride them. It would be... They're very small. I mean, in the cartoons they do, but seahorses are generally like this big. And, so, I'm trailing. So, Merman Assassin Jerry is sitting in his room, pondering how he's going to get this nuclear diamond away from El Bad Guy. And there's just no words. He's sweating, he's freaking out, and he knows that the woman next door could possibly be there to kill him. Could he be there to get rid of El Bad Guy? She said she was, but she's also a spy and a mermaid. Apparently, merbitches can't be trusted. So, little backstory on Svetlana, the Soviet spy mermaid. Svetlana was the best. I mean, I don't know, again, there are very few Cold War era mer spies that I'm personally in contact with. But from what I've heard, she was the absolute best. Nothing could stop this mermaid. Unstoppable. I mean, I think she single-handedly took down the Titanic. I know this isn't during the Cold War, but there was before... Fun fact, during the Mer Civil War of 1912, the Titanic, unfortunately, was a tragic casualty of this war. I know we heard about the iceberg and all that. That's nonsense. The whole Kate Winslet, Leonardo DiCaprio did not happen that way. The captain of the Titanic was a merman in human form, liked to ride on ships and captain them. He looked very, very good in that suit. And what happened was that he was part of a rebel faction of mer people who wanted to, separate from the other mer lands, because of whatever political ideologies. I'm not sure. I am not a mer-person historian. But I do know that he looked great in that suit. And he wanted to frame the Mer King for the deaths of thousands of humans, thinking that it would start a mer-human war. He kind of forgot that, World War I was kind of getting started, and they would be a little too distracted to fight the Mer Civil War, which was going on underwater just at the same time of World War I. It's fact, you can check it. You don't have to Google it, just trust me. So, Svetlana, deadliest thing on one fin. She took down the Titanic, possibly the Lusitania. I'm not sure. Was she working with the Germans? She might have been. I don't know.